Hello. I've been a bit lax in my earbud usage recently. Well, for a while now. And I knew I needed to get back into the habit of it, so I've got them in today. And it's taking some adjustment. That is for sure. Don't know how I feel about them yet. I mean, it's crazy because I can't hear any wind. I can hear myself talk, I can hear my Cardo, and I can hear Noxie. Although that is a bit more muted. So busy! There is a brand that I know I can more than likely work with if I want better fitting ones. Should I choose to continue with these? I know I should. I really should. My hearing isn't the best of them. Without having been on the bike for ages, let alone when I've been for a few hours ride. This helmet's meant to be pretty good for wind protection as well, but it's not serving me any purpose. Maybe it's better than my old one. Obviously I'm used to it now. I can hear the Cardo up to about 60, 70 miles an hour, whereas my old helmet would probably, after 50, 60, then I would hear nothing but the rushing of the wind. So I don't know the stats specifically, but I know that it is generally well known that motorcycling is an aging hobby. Less and less young people are getting into it. Now why that is, there's probably several reasons. I'm going to talk about what I can today and then let me know your thoughts in the comments. As per usual, we're probably used to this sort of video essay style by now. This is a group discussion. So why? I mean, first thing to mention is the price. Now, getting into any vehicle is expensive nowadays. But for example, to do something like a direct access course, you're looking at over £1,000 just to do the course, and then you've got obviously the cost of the bike on top of it, the cost of the insurance, what happens if you fail your tests, blah blah blah. Now the cost of learning, as in getting your license, might not be any higher than a car if you go for quite a few lessons with an instructor. But I think it's the lump sum that might scare people away, because a lot of courses are lump sums. But probably the biggest thing about the licensing is that not only does the direct access cost a hefty amount, you have to redo the tests. Obviously, you know, we're talking about young people, so let's say late teens, early 20s. Am I still classed as a young person? I don't know. I'm at the age now where I don't know if I'm a young person or just an adult. I don't feel like an adult. Come on, move it, move it, move it, move it, shift it. If you're looking at young, so as in the first time you're able to actually get your license in anything, car or bike, you know, 16, 17 for car. If you're looking at that age and you want to get transport, it makes logical sense to get a car, because first of all, you probably got a few mates that you want to carry around as well, but also you're going to be restricted to a 125, so you're not going to have a great deal of power. So bikes would only become sort of tempting after 19, and by that point, if you've already put money into a car and your insurance is still robbing you every month or every year, depending on which plan you're on, chances are it's really not very appealing to then get a second license on top of that. Not even mentioning that, like, let's say you can afford getting a new bike and license, can you afford the insurance of 2 cars at the age of 19, 20? I mean, I'm 22 and insurance is still not great. So I think after 25 you are considered lower risk for insurance. That's a long way to go from 17 when you're first able to get any sort of vehicle on the road, you know? I'm not going to batter on about the licenses, we've done enough videos on that recently, but it is one of the main key things, I think, where people are like, why aren't more young people getting on bikes? Well, how are we meant to do that? I know when I was 17, 18, I wasn't looking at a bike. Well, when I was 17, 18, COVID started, so lessons for anything were a bit manic, but I went car first, and then a couple of years later went bike, because that made logical sense for my lifestyle at the time. And I didn't develop an interest in bikes until later on. I think one of the reasons why young people might want to get into bikes is because of social media, and I hadn't got onto the bike scene on social media until about 2021. It's one of the good things about socials. You can argue pros and cons for it. There are both. But, right, where do I want to go? I want to get out of town centre. I let my mind wander, and this is where it takes me. Silly. Very, very silly. Next thing, which came up a lot when I was having conversations with other people who were looking at when I was chatting to some other people who similar sort of age about bikes, and I think if you don't come from a motorcycle centric family, the general opinion, obviously there's going to be outliers, but the general opinion is that they're very dangerous, and they are. So are cars, but also a lot of people don't trust the people on the roads. I've talked about that as well. Just a general fear of what's going to happen if things go wrong, which can put off a lot of people. I don't think that's anything new. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people have always sort of thought bikes are a bit dangerous, maybe more so again with social media. How about my sun visor? Oh, it's clean. Good. Didn't change the visor because I thought, oh, the sun's setting, so it's not going to be light enough, and also I couldn't be bothered because I had the clear one on. Forgetting that when the sun sets, it's like directly in my eyesight. So we're rocking the Robocop look with my drop-down sun visor that I absolutely hate. It's handy in emergencies though, so we'll give it credit. Better than my old helmet's one as well, so well done, Scorpion. I can see the road properly, you're not warping it. Okay, let's test these earplugs at the speed limit. Let's see what they do. Still barely any wind. It's really weird. I forgot what this was like. What is going on here? I smell burning. What is burning? Tyres? I don't see any tyre marks though. Okay. Either they just got stopped or they broke down somehow. I don't know. Right, so from my point of view, there are probably two main reasons. We've covered the first one already, which is like the barriers to entry. How at the age of 17 you can either get any car you want, provided you can afford it, or you can get a 125 limited to a maximum of say 70 miles an hour. Not that you need to go any faster, obviously, but the acceleration is not there. You're also just, you've got so many more downsides than owning a little crappy car. But I think the main thing is, in this day and age where we have to choose one, because it's probably not within reason to be able to afford both, you've got to choose the most practical option. And for a lot of people that's going to end up being a car. We can argue about the practicality of bikes all we want. You know, they're great for filtering, they're great to get into places quicker, you've also got the sense of freedom, you get more cool points, but cars are more practical, and the world is built for cars more than it is built for bikes. Theft is another one that has gone absolutely through the roof, and a lot of people wanted me to do a video on it. That does not look like a nice cloud. Why am I going this way? No, let me tell. What?
Okay, so I literally just started talking about theft and then got distracted by the big angry cloud in the sky. So let's just pause and talk about it for a second. So not only is it on the rise, which is not fun, but also 125s are particularly common to be stolen. I know a lot of thieves will target bigger bikes, but in general, the lighter the bike, the easier it is to steal because they can just pick it up, and 125s are incredibly light compared to most other bikes. So if a young person is already limited to a 125 because of the law, then they have the consideration that they're also a higher target for thieves. They might not be able to afford as many locks and security. And it also depends on obviously their home situation. They're obviously less likely to be able to build their own garage or anything like that. So you've got to rely on, probably, if you're living with your parents, them having a suitable place to store it. Again, it's just more and more obstacles that add to it that then make the 125 life in particular less appealing.
I need to turn around. I'm not doing that. Let's just enjoy the sun whilst it lasts, because I have a feeling I'm going to get absolutely drenched in a minute. Oh no. I don't want to. I'm not wearing anything waterproof. See, practicality. We live in Britain, okay? As much as I'm on the bike basically all year round and I love it, it is not the most practical thing. We would be lying to ourselves if we said, oh, it's more cost effective for someone to get... Actually, no, that is one of the only reasons why someone might pick a bike over a car, is because theoretically it is more cost effective if you pick an old cheap bike and you just do your CBT and you're able to get a pretty decent insurance. Because if it's just you, then obviously your fuel usage is going to be a lot lower than a car, and just general running costs tend to be lower, apparently. However, as soon as you get into this hobby, which you inadvertently will, it no longer becomes the cost-effective budget option. It becomes the money, just everything. Everything is now bikes. Everything you buy, everything you think about, everything you look at is bikes. And then all of your money ends up on this hobby, and then you can't afford a car. Yay! Speaking from experience here. Am I beneath the cloud? I am. Okay. Do I just carry on? I mean, the road kind of looks wet. Has it already rained? Am I being hopeful? I think I'm being hopeful, if I'm quite honest. Oh, I should have gone down there. Okay, never mind. So, one thing we can hope to do with the power of social media is potentially sway the younger generation to get into bikes. Pothole! Because it is fun. And I've already had messages saying, like, oh, these videos got me into motorcycling and I got my first bike, which is amazing. But unfortunately, it is turning into more of a hobby that you could afford once you've got some spare income. And the vast majority of people my age and younger and a bit older, the vast majority of people cannot afford to spend on this as a hobby. This is now like my main mode of transport, which is why I put so much money into it. And obviously, I now earn money through the channel. Thank you very much. Take a look at the website to help me even further. Wink, wink. But you know, whilst I probably spent more money than the average person getting into motorcycling because of the gear, also my bike was relatively cheap in terms of bikes. My insurance really isn't that bad. So actually, it might not be an awful lot different. So there's the moral of the story. I might add some other stuff in if I remember whilst I'm editing. But it literally comes down to, it's just not, there are too many barriers to entry to get onto a decent powered bike. I'm not talking that everyone has a need for speed and wants to ride a liter bike, but in my opinion 125s are not the safest bike on the road, and the fact that the youngest motorcyclists are limited to that with barely any knowledge because you don't need a theory test to do a CBT, absolutely ridiculous. It's just, there's too many barriers. And then the good old money is, it's not getting any better, obviously. And it's not the trend. The trend is to get a car and then drive your mates around. At least that was what it was like when I was in school. One friend friend had a car, everyone got lifts. The first person to get the car was the designated driver. What I am seeing more of, and maybe it's not more of, but I'm just more in tune to it because people come and say hi, because like any biker will come and say hi to another biker most of the time, is you see groups of like 17, 18, 19 year olds on their 125s, which is great. But again, they're limited, like they're getting that because they want the hobby rather than they want something that can drive them anywhere, because a 125 on our place can't drive you anywhere, everywhere. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to try and outrun this rain cloud, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.